Hey guys, this is Mike Tarallo with Qlik, and this is a longer feature demonstration that accompanies our What's New summary for the November 2020 Data Analytics release. There's a nice mix of features to demonstrate, and the first one we're going to cover is data alerts in Qlik SaaS. So as some of you may be aware, we do have an add-on for Qlik Enterprise Windows, or the client managed environment, called Qlik Alerting. Well, we've taken that type of capability and we've included it into our Qlik SaaS Enterprise offering. So it is integrated directly into the product here. So to demonstrate this, I'm first going to just show you how you could manage the alerts that have already been created. That's going to be in your profile menu, and you can see there is a link for alerts. By clicking that, you will see all of your alerts that have been created. And then you have a few available actions that you can work with. You can select your alert, and here you can choose a variety of actions that reveal history or conditions or recipients. But you can actually go and edit the alert directly in that app if you wish. So just to show you that, I'm going to click on this menu item, Edit Alert in App, and it'll bring you directly to the Qlik app and bring you to the details, data, conditions, and distribution that you can edit. Okay, so just a quick example of how to manage the alerts from the profile menu. You could also select it, and those available actions and menus are now available over here on the left, and here's the Edit Alert in App button. So you have history, and you can view some other properties and attributes of the alert. Okay, but now if we are actually in the app and you want to set up an alert, this app was created by one of our product managers, and it's a great way to simulate this particular example, and I'm sure we can make it available for you. So I'm just going to go into analysis mode, and we're just going to keep track of our sales. And this is a simple KPI. Now you can right click on any of these charts, and what it'll do is it will identify the measure in that chart and ask you if you would like to select that measure for that. So to give you an example, as I right click on this KPI, you can see there's an item for Create Alert, and I can give my alert a name. So we're going to call this Sales Alert. Okay, and then here you can see a description and then add the measure. So here you can see from chart sales KPI, and we have sales, and then you have other master measures that you can choose. So in this case here, we're just going to choose sales. Okay, and you can see it shows you the current evaluation of the summary of the sales value. You could add a description, you could add an additional measure. You could go through refine your data by showing dimensions or, for example, breaking out the different sales by different dimensions and applying selections, but we're not going to do that in this case here. Then we can go to the condition, and you can see here we select our measure of sales. We can do some comparisons. We can compare it with another measure, current set, or value. In this case, we'll keep it simple as a value. You have different operators. You have greater than, less than, equal to, not equal to, includes, starts with, or ends with. In this case, we're just going to say greater than. Our value in this case here can be a calculated expression, but in this case, we're just going to use 2 million. And we could add additional condition if we wish, and we can preview the alert at that point. And we click next, and then we choose our notification. So always basically just means that every time we reload the app, it's going to evaluate that condition and send out the alert. Or you could have it sent out once per hour, once per day, once per week, etc. These are the different notification frequencies. So right now we're just going to keep it as always. We could share this alert with other users. I'm not going to do that. And then we simply click Create. Okay, here we can go to open our alerts, and it'll bring us back to that management screen. And here you can see there's our new sales alert. Last evaluation was 8 minutes ago. So now if I was to reload this app, we would then get a particular email notification. Okay, so here if we click this, you can see there's our notification preferences, and you can see we have the alert is triggered. So we'll get it through our notification icon here or directly in email. We click on recipients. At this time, it is linked to my user account, and it's going to come directly to me. Okay, so to kick this off, all I really have to do is reload it. So what we're going to do is just go into edit mode, and I'm going to click the reload button here. And this app has been designed to automatically increment our figures and measures. So while that reloads, I'm going to bring in my email into view. And there's our sales have now increased to 2.1 million. and I'm in my Qlik Data Alerts, and I have a rule that brings in the particular email notification. Let's do a send receive. And there is our alert. Okay, sales is greater than 2 million. This is the actual sales figure, the owner, the app, and the condition, current data. And then here's a link here to bring you directly into the app. Okay, so that is just a quick example of data alerts within QlikSense SaaS. Okay, so the next one I'd like to demonstrate is a quick and simple one. We can now take charts that have been suggested by Insight Advisor and add them to our chart monitoring within the hub. So as you see here, I'm in my hub and I'm in the chart section. And these are charts that I've chosen to monitor through various apps that I've been analyzing. Well, if I want to go into an app and we want to go into Insights, and then I can type in my question or type in some keywords. Maybe I'm interested in looking at, total collection value. And we're just going to execute that question or that query. And this is Insight Advisor taking that chart and producing the results here that I then could add to a dashboard. Well, I can now go in and say I want to monitor this particular chart in the hub. And then click on Monitor. And then also as this value changes, it will retain a history of that as well. So now when we go back into our hub and we go to our Monitor Charts, you can see that we have our total collection value chart available here. Okay, so the next thing I would like to show you is our addition to vocabulary, which allows you to use different definitions or terms linked to other fields within your data model, as well as set expressions or conditions. And you're going to love this example. Watch this. So if I go into my Prepare menu, and you can see that we have our business logic area, and there is a new item under logical model called vocabulary. So we're going to select vocabulary, and we don't have any vocabulary definitions defined or mapping defined. So let's create some new vocabulary. So to keep it simple, I am looking at video game inventory, and I have the field marked as title, and title could be related to, a number of different items in the inventory. But sometimes people want to say, show me how many games or something like that. So we're going to use games. They might say, show me how many items. So we're going to use the term items. So here we're defining terms that we're going to map or link to our real field name, in this case, title. And titles could be master item, or it also could be, as you see here, listed in the data model from when it's loaded. So in this case, we're just linking it to title. And then we could also choose to select a condition where you can choose certain values that are in or not in a defined list. But right now, we'll just keep that simple. Okay, now we're going to create another vocabulary. And in the video game world, there are items known as holy grails. And holy grails are basically the one item that many collectors are looking for and also has a significant value. So in this case here, I'm just going to type in the term holy grail or holy grails. And we're going to apply this to a price or a measure. In this case here, we have what's called complete in box. So most holy grails are going to be a complete game with the manual and the box and so forth. So we have a field measure here called complete in box price. And then we're going to select a condition. That condition can be greater than or equal to. In this case, we're going to say anything that is over, let's say $250 will be considered a holy grail. Okay. Now, keeping back in mind that when you are in business logic, you are defining and grouping and creating expressions and behaviors to make Insight Advisor become smarter and produce more significant results. Okay, so this helps with some of the synonym and natural language interaction. So let's go into our insights. And here I'm going to ask a question. So, we can type in our keywords. We can say, show me holy grails for NES and for today's prices. Okay, so what this is going to do is identify the holy grails, and you can see it just produced a simple line chart with a single point. And you can see we're looking at sum of CIB price over load date, because we're looking at today, and we were at today's date. You can also see the filters applied. Today's load date, in this case here, our CIB price is greater than $250, and the platform is NES. So if we just go up here and just say buy game, okay, we're using that other synonym or vocabulary. It's now going to show us by title. And you can see the games here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games that are over $250 in this price range today in the inventory. Okay, so a nice way to define natural language interaction using more common terminology, keeping it a little bit more conversational, and also linking and mapping other terms or expressions to a particular term that might be used within the Insight Advisor. Now, another visualization improvement that we've added is the ability to add an image to a tooltip. And this can be done in not only maps, as you see here, but also combo, tree map, bar, scatter, and line charts. Just to give you a quick example of this, if I go into analysis mode and I hover over the appropriate country, we can see that country's flag. Now, this is dynamic as it is returning the value for the country that we're hovering over. So the way we did that is if we just go into our map object and we go into our country layer, you can see that we have a section here for tooltip. It's listed as custom, and then images. And then here you can see the image has already been set as a URL. And if we go into the expression, we can see that it's a URL to a file. Now, if you use this type of approach, you have to whitelist this particular domain inside the security content policy in the administration console. There's basically a section in there where you can add in the directive and the domain name. Now, you could also change this to a media library, and you can then select the image from the media library. Here, I'll just choose a simple Sega logo. And then by doing so, it's a little bit less dynamic in this case here, but you can choose images from the media library or through a URL. And another cool but simple feature we've added to increase productivity is the ability to copy and paste measures from charts into charts. So here I'm looking at my bar chart. I'm just going to right click on sum of sales and copy that measure. And then here I'll just navigate to this combo chart and I'll right click and paste. And now we've added our measure directly to this new chart. Definitely helps reuse any expressions you might have created from one chart, and also helps with prototyping and testing different measures within different charts. Also, we have added the ability to copy sheets between apps. So in this example here, I have two apps. Now, it's important to note that when you're copying sheets between apps, the apps must reside on a tenant that is in the same domain. And it's recommended that the apps have the same data model. So measures and dimensions will automatically work within the new app that you're pasting it to. Otherwise, you might get invalid measures or invalid dimension messages. But in this case here, we're just going to use, let's say this is the original. I'm going to create a new sheet here and just call it Mike. And then I'm going to right click and copy that sheet. And now I'm going to the other app, which is just a copy of the same app, and I'm just going to right click and paste. And you can see now that sheet named Mike is now inside the second app. So that also helps increase productivity when moving sheets between apps. We also have added some small improvements to the client-managed hub, as well as some management and administration to our multi-cloud capabilities. So to get started, very simply within the Windows Enterprise Client Managed Hub, you can see that we have our streams on the left, and you might have a stream name that is a little bit longer, and it would be hidden in a previous release. Well, we made some improvements where you can actually adjust the pane. And you can see here, this is a name for a stream that is very, very, very long. So this allows you to basically size the pane so you can read longer stream names. The other improvement we made to the hub is also the ability to change to a table or a list view, so you can see all of your apps in this type of view. Now, if you click on an app, it will load. If you want to see more information about the app, such as the description, you can click the information icon and have access to other buttons or properties. Okay, so these settings are also known as sticky, meaning if you move on to another stream, those settings are going to be maintained. Okay, so just some simple improvements in usability and the interface within the client managed enterprise version. And the other improvements I wanted to share with you are the ones made to our multi-cloud distribution and deployment workflow. So if you're not familiar with that, instead of boring you with the PowerPoint, I'm just going to show it to you in real time. So here I'm in my Windows Enterprise Client Managed Hub, and you can see I'm in my work area. Multi-cloud distribution allows me to have my two environments communicate with each other, so I could take apps that are in my Windows Enterprise Client Managed environment and publish them to a managed space within my Enterprise SaaS tenant for consumption by others. So for example, if we have this Apex Global Operations app that we want to make available in a Enterprise SaaS tenant, I can right-click, Publish, and I could choose a stream, such as Sales, and click Publish. Now, I already set up the policies and the connections together within the deployment console, and I'll show you that in a moment. But basically, what this does is now take that app and push it over to my SaaS tenant. So in this example here, I'm going to go to my SaaS tenant, where we're going to see this app pop up here. So now we're in our Enterprise SaaS tenant console, and here we can go to our apps, and you can see there's a section marked as staged. By clicking that, you can see the app that I just distributed over is ready to be pushed to a particular managed space. Now, this can be only pushed to a managed space because it's for consumption models only. So here, I click on Set Space, and in here I have a test managed space. I click Apply, and we can see that the app is now moved and it has now been published to our managed space. I can refresh my interface for the Enterprise SaaS tenant, and now we can see our Apex Global Operations app that's been distributed from my Windows environment over to my Enterprise SaaS tenant. Okay, now some of the improvements that we made in this have to do with the deployment mechanism within the management console on the Windows Enterprise environment. So to give you an example, to make things a little bit easier and a little bit more manageable, you can see we now have a link here to cloud distribution within the Windows Enterprise Client Managed Qlik Management Console. We can click that, and now we also have an app distribution status window. So here, instead of knowing if an app had failed after you deployed it, this allows you to see the status of that app deployment. You can see here at Apex Global Operations, it's been successful. We have our distribution policies that have been set up, as well as a link for a deployment setup, which this right now will link to the multi-cloud setup console, but the future is to basically integrate all of this into the Qlik Management Console. So by going to the multi-cloud setup console, you now can have multiple cloud tenants here. Adding a tenant is really easy. You just put in the deployment name, the API endpoint, which is the URL of your tenant server, and then you set up a bearer token. And I'm not going to go through the setup. We can save that for another video, or you can look at our video help instructions for that. But basically, once these environments are connected, you could actually now click Test Connection, and you could actually see that the connection is also successful here. Okay, so these are just some of the minor improvements that have been made within the multi-setup deployment options within the Qlik Enterprise Client Managed interfaces. Okay, so that is all I have. I did provide a decent amount of information in this video, but note there are more improvements such as user-defined time zones and language settings in your SaaS tenant, additional connectivity, and other productivity improvements. As usual, be sure to check the Qlik help site What's New document for other improvements not covered in this video. Don't forget to join me live bi-weekly each month on my Do More with Qlik sessions, where I will cover specific Qlik capabilities in depth, or I will be joined by a variety of special guests, where we discuss popular topics, capabilities, and solutions. Hope to see you there. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching.